You're sitting comfortably. Everything seems normal, but deep in your gut, something screams that you're in danger. You can't explain it. You can't see it, but you know something is terribly wrong. And by the time your brain catches up to what your instincts already understood, escape is no longer an option. This isn't a story about tragedy. It's a story about the final moments when people realize they ignored the one warning that could have saved their lives. What you're about to discover will change how you trust your own mind forever. Every year, thousands of people describe the same haunting experience in their final moments. They knew, not logically, not consciously, but somewhere deeper than thought. They sensed danger approaching while everyone around them remained oblivious. Psychologists call it anomalous anticipatory awareness. Survivors call it the feeling that saved their life. Victims call it the warning they wish they'd trusted. Today, you'll discover the 3 psychological patterns that reveal when your mind detects threats before your conscious awareness does. First, the invisible trigger, why your body responds to danger before any logical reason exists. Second, the pattern fractures, the subtle environmental signals your subconscious mind identifies while your conscious mind dismisses them. And third, the cognitive cascade, how your brain tries desperately to warn you through intrusive thoughts, fixations, and unexplained behavior, hoping you'll act before understanding becomes irrelevant. By the end of this video, you'll understand the biological mechanism behind premonition, and more importantly, you'll know exactly when to trust that unexplained unease that everyone tells you to ignore. The journey begins like any other, a routine flight, a normal commute, an ordinary trip. Nothing about the external environment suggests danger. The weather is clear, the vehicle is sound, other passengers are calm, laughing, absorbed in their phones and conversations. But one person feels it, not fear exactly, not panic, something quieter but more persistent, an uncomfortable weight in the chest, a tightness in the throat, a restlessness that won't settle. They shift in their seat, check their watch, look around for something out of place but find nothing. Everyone else is relaxed. The rational mind intervenes. You're being paranoid. There's no reason to feel this way. But here's what neuroscience has discovered. Your autonomic nervous system processes environmental data millions of times faster than your conscious awareness. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, scans for danger patterns using criteria you cannot articulate. It doesn't wait for logical confirmation. It doesn't need visual proof. It detects micro patterns, slight variations in sound frequency, subtle changes in air pressure, micro expressions on faces around you, timing inconsistencies too small for conscious detection. Research from the University of Northwestern documented cases where passengers reported unexplained anxiety 8 to 12 minutes before mechanical failures became apparent. Their heart rates elevated, cortisol levels spiked. Their bodies were already preparing for disaster, while their minds searched desperately for rational explanations that didn't exist yet. This is the invisible trigger, your body responding to information your consciousness hasn't processed. The danger isn't imagined. The threat is real, but it exists in a frequency your rational mind cannot yet hear, and this creates a devastating conflict. Trust your unexplained fear and appear irrational, or dismiss it and remain in danger. Most people choose to stay, but the unease doesn't disappear. Instead, it searches for validation, and that's when the second pattern emerges. Now the environment begins speaking in a language only the subconscious understands. A flight attendant walks past, but her rhythm is slightly different than before. Not wrong exactly, just off. A sound from the engine that wasn't there 10 minutes ago. Subtle, almost imperceptible. Other passengers don't notice, but you do. A conversation nearby that stops mid-sentence for no apparent reason. The pilot's announcement that comes 30 seconds earlier than scheduled. A vibration beneath your feet that lasts a fraction longer than normal. Each detail individually means nothing. Coincidence, random variation, background noise. But your subconscious doesn't process them individually. It processes patterns. And when patterns break, even microscopically, your threat detection system escalates. Psychologist Dr. Gary Klein studied firefighters who evacuated buildings moments before structural collapse without any conscious reason. When interviewed, they couldn't explain their decision. They just felt wrong about staying. Later analysis revealed they had subconsciously detected pattern anomalies, unusual heat distribution, sound dampening inconsistencies, timing variations in fire behavior. Their conscious minds saw a normal fire. Their subconscious minds detected a pattern breaking down. This is precisely what happens in those final moments before disaster. The world doesn't announce danger with sirens and flashing lights. It whispers through broken patterns, a sequence that doesn't repeat correctly, a timing that shifts imperceptibly, a behavior that deviates microscopically from baseline normal. Survivors later described these moments with haunting consistency. Everything looked fine, but something felt wrong. They're not describing paranoia. They're describing pattern recognition operating at a level beneath language. The environment is screaming warnings in a frequency only instinct can hear. And now, the mind does something extraordinary and terrifying, because when the subconscious cannot get the conscious mind to act through emotion alone, it escalates its tactics. The strange thoughts begin. Intrusive, unwanted, impossible to ignore. You imagine the emergency exit, not because you're planning to use it, but because your mind keeps showing it to you. You visualize impact, not because you want to, but because the thought arrives uninvited. Vivid, insistent. You mentally rehearse survival actions you have no logical reason to consider. Your focus fractures. Conversation becomes difficult. You scan the environment compulsively, searching for threats you cannot name. Your attention fixates on details that shouldn't matter. The distance to the aisle, the location of exits, the behavior of crew members, structural weaknesses you'd never normally notice. This is the cognitive cascade, your brain's final desperate attempt to force protective action before conscious understanding arrives. Neuroscientist Dr. Antonio Damasio discovered that decision-making isn't primarily rational. The brain uses somatic markers, emotional signals attached to options to guide choices before logic completes its analysis. When facing ambiguous threats, the subconscious elevates anxiety around dangerous options and floods consciousness with survival-oriented intrusive thoughts. You're not losing your mind. Your mind is trying to save you, but here's the tragedy. We're trained to dismiss these signals. Society, culture, social pressure all teach us that unexplained fear is irrational, that acting on intuition without logical justification is paranoid, that we should trust visible evidence over invisible feeling. So we stay, we rationalize, we explain away the unease, we smile at the absurdity of our own anxiety, we tell ourselves we're being ridiculous, and then the truth arrives. The mechanical failure becomes visible, the threat materializes. The danger that was invisible 30 seconds ago now fills every sense with undeniable, inescapable reality. And in that moment, that crystalline, horrifying moment, everything becomes clear. The unease wasn't imagination. The pattern breaks weren't coincidence. The intrusive thoughts weren't irrationality. They were warnings. And now, understanding arrives with perfect, useless clarity, because the moment you finally know for certain is the exact moment escape becomes impossible. Here is the truth that changes everything. Premonition isn't supernatural, it's biological. Your subconscious mind is processing environmental data you cannot consciously access, detecting pattern anomalies you cannot consciously identify, and generating emotional warnings you cannot consciously justify. The tragedy isn't that people fail to predict disaster. The tragedy is that they do predict it and then ignore themselves. Survival doesn't require psychic ability. It requires trusting the million years of evolutionary threat detection still operating beneath your conscious awareness. It requires acting on unease even when you cannot explain it. It requires valuing your own nervous system's assessment entertainment over social comfort. The warning always arrives before the danger. The question is whether you'll trust it before understanding becomes irrelevant. Listen to yourself. When unexplained unease persists despite rational dismissal, treat it as data, not irrationality. When patterns feel wrong without logical justification, investigate rather than ignore. When your mind generates intrusive survival thoughts, recognize them as protective signals, not cognitive dysfunction. Your subconscious is not your enemy. It's your earliest warning system. And one day, trusting that unexplained feeling might be the only thing standing between you and irreversible consequence. If this video changed how you understand your own mind, subscribe now so you don't miss our next deep dive into the invisible mechanisms that govern human survival. Because sometimes the difference between tragedy and escape is simply believing yourself before the world makes you right.